Thanks for having us here today. I'm Mike McLeod from Nolan. And firstly, we just want to say we're grateful for the opportunity to present here. It's our first time in this category and something we've been aspiring to for some time. We think you'll be seeing some bigger, grander buildings today, potentially, but any piece of public architecture has the potential to be an essential support for our society. This particular piece of new municipal cultural infrastructure is specifically to support local sports, but also provides a place for community gatherings. It's located in Glen Iris on Wurundjeri country, a heavily modified site with steep topography, wedged between the Monash Freeway, drainage infrastructure, and very, very sensitive neighbours. It's a small park used by junior cricketers in summer, a couple of rugby clubs in winter, and dog walkers all year round. The existing facilities, small, dilapidated, and unwelcoming to most. And you can see the sort of typical fortifications required when you build in this sort of context. The brief was to create something welcoming, accessible, with change rooms and facilities to support more diverse participants. There's also social room, kiosk, and public toilet. We pulled out the slides that we pitched to council initially to get the job. We didn't show them drawings, but we showed them things that we were interested in, including this opportunity to make a building in a green setting that's a landmark for locals and visitors, something to discover, use and enjoy. The rolling terrain here is pretty remarkable. There's an opportunity to turn your back on city life and gaze out at the long views to trees and wetlands. The journey to get to these buildings, there should be some fun in the approach. All should not be revealed immediately. The journey should feel safe and comfortable. Diversity. Sport is changing, finally, and new facilities must step up to be inclusive and supportive of these changes. Everyone must feel welcome. Sustainability, there's obviously a responsibility here. The new pavilion needed to be thoughtful of its surroundings, needed to express its sustainability credentials and educate those who visit. See, participating in team sport in Melbourne is typically either roasting hot or freezing cold, so it needed to respond to the conditions to which users are exposed, protecting them, keeping them comfortable. People sit, stand, lean, squat, reach and perch around these things. They lie down, they kneel, they crouch, they gravitate to edges. We're interested in where people can formally and informally place themselves around and within the pavilion. Site. It seemed like a large park was a bit of a dream to put a building in, but once you overlaid the sporting fields, the trees that all needed to be retained, steep topography, and the flood overlay, there was virtually nowhere left to build. A very long and complex process finally led to this solution. The design separates the program into two pavilions that nestle into the ground and become an extension of the landscape. Obviously it does all the jobs that it needs to do. I won't run you through in detail. You can read plans and hopefully have a look out there one day. The new structures navigate the levels to provide flood protection, ensure equitable access and minimise visual impact to the sensitive areas. These are the two sections of the differing profiles. And then ESD initiatives were integrated, including passive heating and cooling, water collection, reuse, huge amounts of daylighting, fossil fuel free, heat pump hot water and solar panels. Extensive community consultation was required to get neighbours, sporting clubs and council on board. We find sketches are an effective way to communicate our ideas. It was also interesting for us to go back to these at this point in the process. So this is looking from sort of above, higher on the hill, down onto the pavilion, out to the horizon. Looking from the playing field back to the building and between the two of them. I think importantly, like a building such as this is a piece of public infrastructure So it needs to make as well as just doing all the jobs that's in the brief, it needs to make a concentrated effort to offer a broader contribution to the urban realm. This contribution includes a response to the context which recognises the tradition of sports pavilions in 19th century garden suburbs. Alongside all the practical amenities these need, there's the importance of ceremony and drama in the life of the sporting club and the stage sets that this requires. It needs to be embedded in landscape. We had to look how this large new building could be effectively embedded within its surrounds. Landscape was addressed in multiple ways, including through the siting and separation of the two pavilions, splitting the brief, and in conjunction with landscape architect Simon Ellis through a horticultural design which contemplated growth over time. It should all get enveloped, hopefully pretty soon. And forgive the site photos, this is very recently finished. We looked at how a common failing of these buildings is that they're mute and forbidding when not in use. So we were looking at which is a lot of the time, so how you can encourage incidental use. Places to be in, near or under the building, places where you're protected. It's a building seen in the round, so services had to be integrated and all architectural elements had to contribute to the whole. Materials had to be dignified, durable and age well, but we looked at tweaks, so rough cast instead of smooth render, glazed bricks to enhance the colour, timber wherever we could. Colour, we often use colour, we always use colour for effect and meaning. Here it's a reference to those 19th century pavilions, but also respectful to the setting, looking at tonal shifts and patterns. And then the interiors, that carries through. Again, forgive the photos. And then stretching the brief, this is probably the most important part, was like, this is what we were asked to deliver, but then it's like where you can get extra things in there. So the roof terrace, by burying that building, we reinstate the public space that building took up. The roofs work hard. The gap between, which required a retaining wall, the retaining wall was stepped, so this became a place to gather. The verandas and the bleachers, the circulation was sheltered and made wider to make space to watch the game, and then the stepped bleachers negotiate the floor level difference that was required to deal with the flood levels. And just to finish on, the process wasn't easy, but we're glad to be working in this arena. We thought a quote from Elizabeth Farrelly summed up the core challenge. What makes something beautiful is, as much as anything, the sense of invested human care, subconscious understanding that someone somewhere has invested thought and time and skill in making a place we inhabit. Conversely, lack of care manifests now in almost all our public realm design, signifies to the hapless pedestrian they could not matter less. The project was very recently finished. We haven't commissioned photography yet. All the professional photos here today were provided to us by a local photographer who happened to be, we think happened to be just walking his dog in the park. We hope the rest of that community is also enjoying our efforts. Thank you.